Hello friends and fam, how you doing today? So, I had an experience recently. I guess you could call it a brush with death or a close call. I don't think my body was really physically super close to dying, but I guess it moved a bit more in that direction than my baseline state. So I'll just share the experience of what happened briefly, and then I'll share the reflections I've had after it because, yeah, it had quite a potent impact, and there was a lot of quite deep reflections that happened, and yeah, I felt called to share. So it happened maybe a few days to a week ago, and I basically had an allergic reaction to a medication, and you see, I have an allergy to peanuts and cashews, and I can get anaphylaxis if I eat that. And if you're not aware, that is what can swell up your throat, your mouth, eyes, face. It's an immune response. And yeah, it can be very dangerous depending on the intensity. So I started to have an anaphylactic reaction to this medication. It was the first time that's happened with this medication. But anyway, I was at uni, and first I noticed my tongue swelling up, and I was in a uni class, like a tutorial, and I couldn't talk quite properly, like there was a bit less crispness because my tongue was a bit swollen. I mentioned it to the class, but I said, yeah, I can keep going. And then I was able to still talk fine, kept going. But then, about an hour and a half later, I started to feel my throat swelling up, and my lip as well. It started out very subtle, and I could still breathe okay. But I thought, okay, this could be a risk. And then one of my classmates said, do you have an EpiPen? And I checked, and I do, but it was 2 years out of date. Apparently you can still use them 1 to 2 years out of date. So I thought, okay, I'll use this if it swells enough that my throat gets, like if it affects my breathing. So I decided to walk to the chemist across the road, get some antihistamines, like tablets, because they also do the job for my nut allergy. And yeah, then I called the ambulance as I walked there, just to let them know what was happening in case I needed their support. They ended up coming to the chemist, meeting me there. Then took me to the hospital, just in case my condition changed and whatnot. Yeah, so I did that, had the medication, went to the hospital. In the end I was fine because, yeah, it never got to a point where my breathing was affected, thankfully. I could still breathe okay, I could just feel the swelling there. But I am aware that it is a very dangerous thing when your throat gets swollen because, yeah, your airways and whatnot. But EpiPens are very effective nonetheless, so yeah. I did feel quite calm the whole time, like maybe I did have a bit of anxiety, but I sort of knew logically, yeah, the risk is not super high, I can still breathe, and it's not getting worse. And it just stayed like that for like a few hours, gradually went down, just gradually went down over a few hours. But it really got me reflecting on life and our mortality. Bear with me if I get a bit emotional at times, but yeah. Yeah, it just got me reflecting on life and death, particularly death and our mortality. And it was particularly relevant because just a few days before that, I heard a case of somebody who died unexpectedly. I didn't know this person, but I knew of them. And that story affected me a bit, you know. I was quite sad about that story. And then I had this close call a few days later. So yeah, it just got me reflecting because I thought, you know, what if it went a different way? And it just reminded me that we are all very close to death. Um, And a big takeaway for me was that it just reminded me that I actually do want to live. I guess with like the stresses and pressures of everyday life and the boredom and the negative experiences of life, we can kind of forget the value and meaning of life. But yeah, I got reflecting on the value and meaning of life, and I think the biggest reflection on that, I thought, yeah, I want to be alive. It reminded me of that. And I thought about why. And it was really just about the people in my life, the people close to me. And to think, if things went a different way that day, yeah, it could destroy other people's lives. I like to think it wouldn't. Healing's always possible, but yeah, it would definitely leave an impact. And that was really the main reason, maybe the only reason, that I want to be alive. Because yeah, it's not like I thought, oh, there's all these really pleasurable, fun, enjoyable experiences that I still want to have, so I want to stay here to experience more fun and pleasure. Pleasure is certainly not the highest meaning of life, I suppose. So yeah, it's not I don't want to stay alive for a selfish desire just to experience more pleasure. Because life, especially human life, it's very much equal parts pleasure and pain. Some people even argue that the pain of life, the negative experiences, tend to outweigh the positive. Because humans, we have a negativity bias, which is part of our evolution, part of survival. So yeah, at best, life is 50-50 pleasure and pain, maybe even more pain. So that's not really a reason to want to live, in a way, at least for me. I realized that, yeah, the main reason I want to live is to be there for the people around me who I love, to support them, and to help them have a good life and get through life, and myself in the process, and yeah, I thought also there's parts of my purpose that are still very alive. A lot of hip-hop music yet to come. I dropped my album and I haven't been promoting it a whole lot, but it's in the pipeline, coming through slowly. All of the continue development with all that. But even my purpose, I know I've got some great, really meaningful, maybe life-changing songs yet to come out of me or already have come. So that's a reason to live. But yeah, it was just the people around me. So yeah, one of my biggest takeaways was that a lot of the meaning and value in life, it comes from our relationships. Yeah, it's our connection with others which gives life a lot of meaning and value. It's some of the most enjoyable and rich experiences when we are just sharing time with people we love. And it can help us enjoy the little things more, like going to a park with somebody, having a meal with somebody. It can help us appreciate little things, though we can also experience it ourselves. So yeah, the meaning and value of life, I think, is largely found in our connection with others and our desire to be there for them and to help them and to help all of us get through life well and have a good life. It's a very altruistic motive, and I think a lot of us have that motive. I think a lot of us do want to live, even if we forget that at times. And I think it is because the similar reason that you want to be there for the people you love. So yeah, I think there's a very altruistic motive behind that desire to live. And I think a lot of us, perhaps all of us, have that altruistic motive. Yeah. And as we live, we still do selfish things. You know, we still do things to experience pleasure or get victory or upside for us. But I think there is a very altruistic motive hidden beneath the surface of why we keep on living. Because it is our connection, connection with others. It is one of the most beautiful aspects of being a human, you know, like to see the beauty of another, connection. That is where a lot of the juice of life is. But not even connection only to people, even connection to nature, to really see the beauty of a flower or a landscape, to really enjoy the feeling of swimming in the ocean, feeling the waves. So yeah, connection to nature as well as people and to anything that we enjoy, you know. I don't have a tissue, so I did that on the ground. So yeah, and the reflection that came through relating to that. So yeah, a lot of the meaning and value of life is found in our connection with others and our desire to be there for them and live alongside them, and our connection to nature, our connection to life, our connection. It's always a connection with something. And it's a pretty popular spiritual idea that God as just the black void of nothingness, but that mysterious creative potential, the spark, everything, that God was just alone and lonely, completely alone in existence, and thought, yeah, this is a bit boring, so I'm actually just going to create lots of stuff. And then God creates everything and then lives through it, but forgets, you know, the depth of his being or her being, forgets all the capacity of itself, and it brings its consciousness just into an organism, into one part of its creation, one part of itself, an expression of a finite aspect of itself. So yeah, God creates all these things, and yeah, that's where connection comes from, I think, and the value of connection. It's like when you, as a part of God or a part of the universe or life, when you see and behold another being or another thing of value, that's also a part of God, that is God too. And it's like God gets to experience itself or an aspect and a part of itself. So yeah, it just reminds me how connection is such a big part of the value and meaning of life. Okay, well, I think that's all I wanted to speak about. Thank you for listening. Much love. Namaste.